HOA told me to respect their space, so I built a 20-foot concrete wall in one day. The air in Karen's hollow was thick with the scent of wildflowers and resentment. For years, the small village thrived on unwritten rules. Neighbors shared garden tools, swapped stories over coffee, and let their kids play freely in each other's yards. But when the new Homeowners Association, led by Karen Whitaker, swept in with their glossy rulebooks and rigid boundaries, the community's warmth began to crack. Karen, with her sharp bob and sharper tongue, declared that every inch of property must be respected, no exceptions. Personal space is sacred, she preached at town meetings, her voice slicing through the murmurs of dissent. To most, it felt like a declaration of war. Elliot Harper, a widower with a weathered face and a heart full of stubborn pride, lived on the edge of the village. His sprawling garden, bursting with roses and sunflowers, was his sanctuary, a living memory of his late wife, Lila. But Karen's HOA deemed his garden non-compliant because its wild beauty spilled a few inches over the property line onto the neighboring lot owned by Sarah and Gwyn, a quiet single mother who'd moved to the hollow seeking peace. Sarah didn't mind the flowers. Her daughter, Mia, loved picking them, but Karen's relentless letters demanded Elliot trim back or face fines. Respect their space. The notices read, each one colder than the last. Elliot tried reasoning with Karen. He stood in her pristine living room, hat in hand, explaining how the garden was Lila's legacy. Karen didn't blink. Rules are rules, Elliot. If we all ignored boundaries, we'd have chaos. Sarah, caught in the middle, pleaded for compromise, but Karen's HOA allies, busybody retirees with too much time, backed her up. The village split. Half saw Karen's rules as order, the other half as tyranny. Whispers turned to shouts at the next town meeting, where Elliot, red-faced, vowed, "If you want space, Karen, I'll give you space." The next morning, the village woke to the roar of machinery. Elliot, fueled by rage and grief, had hired a crew overnight. By dusk, a 20-foot concrete wall loomed over Sarah's lot, cutting off her sunlight and dwarfing her modest home. The garden, once a shared treasure, was now a battleground. Sarah stood in her shadowed yard, tears streaming down her face, as Mia clung to her leg, confused. Karen arrived, clipboard in hand, her face a mask of shock. "This is vandalism," she shrieked. Elliot, leaning against the wall with a grim smile, replied, "I respected your space. Isn't this what you wanted?" The village erupted. Neighbors took sides, some cheering Elliot's defiance, others decrying his pettiness. Sarah, heartbroken, tried to mediate, but her voice was drowned out. The wall wasn't just concretite, was a symbol of everything breaking apart. Then came the twist. Old Man Tucker, the village's reclusive historian, emerged from his cluttered cottage with a yellowed deed. His shaky hands held proof that Elliot's garden wasn't even his, it belonged to Sarah's property. A clerical error from decades ago. The flowers, Lila's legacy, were technically Sarah's all along. The revelation hit like a thunderclap. Elliot's defiance crumbled into shame. He'd built the wall to spite Karen, but now it mocked him, separating him from the garden he thought was his. Sarah, torn between anger and empathy, didn't know whether to claim her rights or let the flowers stay as a gesture of peace. Karen, sensing her power slipping, doubled down, demanding the wall stay as a lesson in consequences. The village, once a family, was now a fractured mess, each person grappling with their own version of right and wrong. Elliot spent that night staring at the wall, his heart heavy. He thought of Lila, who'd always said, "Flowers don't know boundaries. They just grow." By morning, he made a choice. With a sledgehammer, he began tearing down the wall, chunk by chunk. Sarah and Mia joined him, then others, even some of Karen's allies. Karen watched from her porch, silent, her rulebook useless against the sound of community reclaiming itself. But the victory was bitter. The garden, trampled in the chaos, was gone. The flowers, like the village's trust, couldn't be rebuilt in a day. As the dust settled, Elliot sat among the ruins, holding a single crushed rose. Sarah placed a hand on his shoulder, and Mia offered a shy smile. Karen walked away, her clipboard empty. Tucker's deed had exposed more than a property line. It showed how fragile human bonds were when pride and rules took over. The village would heal, but it would never be the same. The wall was gone, but its shadow lingered in every heart. What do you think? Where does justice lie when rules and relationships collide? Share your thoughts.